Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Varijana Sahityam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishkaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasakareshwarine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishkaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaye Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Jnana Daine Prabhave Namah Madhuryo Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastute Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatharine Rupanuga Virudhapa Siddhanta Bhaktaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambujaya Te Namah Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugavarayate Gaura Vidhava Bhumi Swam Nirvesa Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathaya Te Namah Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tushi Namah Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavatar Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Jayakam Suratopangor Mamamanda Matirgati Matsarmasya Padam Bhojau Radha Madhavomano Divya Kalpatumada Srimad Ratnagara Simhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Krishnali Sevyamano Smarami Sriman Rasarasarambi Vamshi Vatatadastika Ashambenu Swane Gopi Gopinath Shri Suna Aptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we are discussing the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is chapter number 9 and this chapter is titled Answers by Citing the Lord's Version. Today's topic is called Endeavour to Know Krishna. So we are going through the Chatur Shloki Bhagavatam, the Srimad Bhagavatam compiled in 4 verses by who? Brahma. Very good. Brahma. It is by Lord Narayan, to Lord Brahma. Right? Because Brahma wanted to do which kind of creation? Secondary creation. What does it mean by secondary creation? Creating from things which have been created already by the original creator, who's Krishna. So the 5 elements are not created by Brahma, they are created by Krishna. And Brahma is using those to create again. So therefore, he is known as the secondary creator. And in these four verses, they are called the summary of the Srimad Bhagavatam because they are telling us about certain aspects about Krishna, our relationship with him, and Krishna's relationship with the material world. So we discussed the first of these verses. एवमेवासमेवाग्रे नान्यद् यत्सत् असत्परं पश्यादहं यदेतच्च योगशेष्येत सोऽस्म्यहम्. Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, when there was nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead, and after annihilation, what remains is also I, the personality of Godhead. So we discussed basically everything emanates from Krishna. And because everything emanates from Krishna, there is nothing in creation that is not linked with Him. And therefore, matter, which is Krishna's energy, is used in Krishna's service. And that is the proper way of living life, using everything in Krishna's service. Yes? So this is the eternal nature of the Lord, that He is always present and everything is an emanation from Him. Even living entities are emanations from Krishna. Therefore, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Aham Bija Pradapita. I am the seed giving father of everyone. And so, living entities are meant to serve the Lord. That is the only time they can be happy. And matter is also to be used in the Lord's service. And whenever it is used independently of Krishna, then, as the next verse says, that is known as illusion. Yes, Maya, illusion. So, that is what is our relationship with the Lord. This verse which says, Rite ritam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tad vidyadatmano maya yatha bhaso yatha tama. O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. So it is my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. So Prabhupada gives the example of a fire coming out of a spark coming out of fire. So when a spark comes out of fire, it has the same potency as fire. But if it remains close by, it will still have a spark. But if it falls far away or if it falls on something wet, what happens to the spark? It gets extinguished in due course of time. The properties of the fire are no longer active in it. Similarly, whatever we see independent of Krishna, it is an illusion because nothing can be independent of Krishna. Right? Even dead matter we can have a link with Krishna because this is Krishna's energy. Or better yet, when matter is used in Krishna's service, that is actual utilization of matter. If we think that we can live our life and we have, like we think many times that I have my life and then I have my spiritual life. I have my life and then I have my spiritual life. So then what is my life? That means that life is something which is not my spiritual life. That means it is not linked to Krishna. Yes? If I say I have my life and then there's a spiritual life also, then that life has nothing to do with Krishna. So today in our class, we had a parents' class in the school. So I was discussing the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So basically, this is the definition of karma yoga, linking everything to Krishna, linking karma to Krishna. Otherwise, it's just karma, it's just activity. But when that activity is linked to Krishna, then it is called as karma yoga. Karma yoga. So if it is not, then it is just karma. And here Krishna is saying, then that's more or less like illusion. That's that's not that's just our perception of it. My life. What is my life meant for? Ultimately, what is the human body meant for? Anyone who asks this question comes to the conclusion that Atato Brahma Jigyasa. The human life is meant to inquire about the Lord, about our relationship with the Lord. So if that's what human life is meant for, then how can I have a my life which is devoid of Krishna? Cannot be. So like we were giving examples today that even when you go to office, You can have your wallpaper, which can be a picture of Radha Rasbihari. And you can have your ringtone, which can be some kirtan. And you can have your mobile phone screen also, which can be some, many people have their own picture. Even if you have your family's picture with you, it still makes some sense. But I've seen so many people, in public spaces, you go, thoda, yahan wad, your eye goes and they unlock their phone, it's their own picture. Their own, and that also they must have only taken it. Or look, people are not interested in taking pictures of us. We are only interested. That's why that whole selfie camera, some great psychologist has only invented a selfie camera. Knowing the psychology of every person that we are most interested in ourselves. अपना photo लगाते हैं. Have you? I'm sure none of you have your own photo. So it's like discounted. अगर आपके साथ आपकी wife या husband या बच्चे हैं तो फिर भी चलो you're remembering your family. Your own self, that shows how much obsessed we are of ourselves, with ourselves. And that's why death is the most painful situation, our own death, whenever it comes. It will be the most painful situation because the thing that you're most attached to is going to go. Is going to go, and you come to know at that time, "Ja raha hai sab." I know nothing beyond this. For those people who don't know anything beyond this, for them it's a horrifying situation. You imagine suddenly you wake up one day and you have no memory and you're in some alien place and there's nothing you can do about it. It's frightening. That's how death is. Because it is like that, because we are having our life and then we have our spiritual life. So there should be no our life. Even at work, even like people were giving examples, when we cook, we can put on kirtan. When we do exercise, we can put on kirtan. And when we are working, we can at least have pictures of the Lord on our desk. काम करते करते जब minimize कर लिया तो you see the Lord on your desk. You have a photograph or you have a calendar. So many ways we can be Krishna conscious even at work. So therefore, my life is also Krishna conscious. Otherwise, it is a illusion. We all have a relationship with Krishna. Even matter has a relationship with Krishna, and everything should be used in Krishna's service. Otherwise, Krishna is saying it is illusion. The third verse of the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam describes the opulence of the Lord. यथा महांति भूतानि भूते सा स्वा वसेश्वनु प्रविष्टानि अप्रविष्टानि तथा तेषु न तेष्वाम. O Brahma, please note that the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created. At the same time, I am outside of everything. Within and outside. Within and outside. The main reason why Krishna comes to this material world is to enact pastimes to attract us back to the spiritual world. That is the only time where Krishna is interested in the material world. For all other things, Krishna's energies are taking care. Krishna is not actually doing anything. Krishna actually did something 5,000 years ago when he came to Vrindavan. And he enacted all these pastimes to attract us. But in a devote, so for a normal person who has his life, then Krishna is aloof. Krishna is sanctioning whatever karma comes, but he's not bothered beyond that. But for a devotee, then Krishna is completely into it. That's why great devotees, they say, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati used to always say, Krishna willing, we will do this. Krishna willing, we will go there. If Krishna wills, this will happen. If Krishna wills, today evening I will speak. Bhaktisiddhanta used to say like that. So, great devotees always see the Lord's hand in everything. And they know that this is the Lord's opulence. That He can do everything without doing anything. But at the same time, for a tiny, insignificant, so-called insignificant devotee also, he will be fully into that person's life. Compared to Brahma, who are we? What is our significance compared to Brahma? What is our Brahma significance compared to other Brahmas? He found out when he went there and they asked him, which Brahma are you? He said, what do you mean, which Brahma? I am the Brahma. And then Lord arranged that he came to know that I am the least significant Brahma, from at least from head size perspective, from the quantity of heads perspective. Imagine if we had more than one head. एक हेड है वही इतना परेशान करता है यहाँ से यहाँ के बीच में there's like gigabytes and gigabytes of anxiety over here. And Brahma, four heads. And he came to know there is a Brahma with millions and millions of heads. And he felt so insignificant. Who am I? Now that Brahma is also so great compared to who we are. So even for insignificant people like us, practicing devotees, we are not even devotees, we are practicing devotees. When we don't have my life, then we will be progressing into nice devotees. Right now we have our distinctions. So but even for us, Krishna takes interest in our life. That's how great Krishna is. That's how loving he is. That even for insignificant people like us, Krishna takes interest in our life. He's guiding us from within. Ishvara Sarva Bhutana Hriddeshi Arjuna Tishtati. Guiding us from within. Inspiring us to come closer to him through service. So these are Krishna's opulences. Today's verse, the final verse of the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam, please recite. एतावदेव जिज्ञास्यम् एतावदेव जिज्ञास्यम् तत्त्वजिज्ञासुनात्मना तत्त्वजिज्ञासुनात्मना अन्वया व्यतिरेकाभ्याम् अन्वयाद्यतिरेकाभ्याम् यत्स्यात् सर्वतः सर्वदा यत्स्यात् सर्वत्र सर्वदा एतावदेव जिज्ञास्यम् तत्त्वजिज्ञासुनात्मना अन्वया व्यतिरेक्याभ्याम् यत्स्यात् सर्वत्र सर्वदा. So the Lord is telling Brahma, a person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, must certainly search for it up to this, in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. Repeat again, please pay attention. A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, must certainly search for it up to this, in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. So basically, the Lord is telling Brahma that a person who is actually serious in spiritual life should inquire as much as possible and take their spiritual life as seriously as possible. He's saying certainly, must search certainly. At least up to here. Means Brahma, see how much you thought of me and how much you are inquisitive. Like that, everyone has to search. And why is this part of the Chaturshloki? Because Krishna, it is the Acharyas tell us this is called as Prayojan Tattva, the goal. The goal of life is to understand Krishna and serve Him. And for that, we must have inquisitiveness. So, therefore, a person who is interested to know God must be inquisitive and must be eager to search more and more and more about the Lord. It is not that now, we have read Bhagavad Gita or we are somewhat practicing devotees, and so there should be no questions in about anything to us. हमें सब आता है. Yeah, there is no need to go further in my spiritual life. Brahma is saying, the Lord is saying that has to always happen. Prabhupada writes, to engage in self-realization is the responsibility of every living entity developed in consciousness. One who is developed in consciousness certainly makes inquiries into the mystery of the self, of the cosmic situation, and of the problems of life in all spheres and fields: social, political, economic, cultural, religious, moral, etc., and in their different branches. But here the goal of all such inquiries is explained. Whatever be our inquisitiveness or inquiries in life, Prabhupada is saying, the ultimate goal or the ultimate inquiry should be about the Supreme Lord. What is the use of having all these other material inquisitiveness when we know that it is ultimately all temporary? All other things, all other forms of mediums of knowledge that we have acquired are all having limitations. Like, for example, we have all done some studies, formal studies in life till 12th or till graduation, some of you post graduation, some of you specialization. And when you enter into a career based on that, is your that much knowledge sufficient for the rest of your life to perform your career, or you have to regularly update your knowledge, even of your specialized field? Because things change, simple things change, and regularly we have to be updated, whether it is law or it is finance or it is medicine or it is anything, everything, creative things. We have to constantly, there are newer and newer and newer things. Therefore, it shows that all those types of knowledge, they have a time frame, they have a shelf life. And even if I keep updating myself, maximum that kind of knowledge is going to help me in this lifetime. It's like, when Lord Balram, he married Revti, and her father, what was her father's name? King Revat. So he went to Brahma that, I want my daughter to be married. And then, well, he was waiting first for Brahma to come. And so Brahma said, okay, but you've been waiting for 5 minutes. वो 5 minutes में अर्थ में तो इतने सारे युगास चले गए हैं. So your daughter who's so tall, now the average height is not that much. So she'll be out of place. Anyway, you get her married to Balram. Lord Balram first took her and brought her down to size. So even if we were to say that I will remember all this knowledge in my next life, by the time you take a next life, this knowledge will anyway be outdated. क्या वो जीएसटी है ही नहीं अभी. कौन से दुनिया में हो आप, जीएसटी? So therefore, real inquiries are into spiritual life. Krishna forbid we don't take another birth, but even if we do, the Bhagavad Gita principles will remain the same. Krishna's pastimes would have been the same. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra will be the same. At least in the next 10,000 years, if we take birth, Krishna consciousness will be there. It is said that actually the period that we are in right now, that is the Sangam of Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga. Actual full-on Kali Yuga has not yet begun. Scary. Now only the things that happen we feel, ये तो घोर Kali Yuga hai. There's nothing ghor about it. It's still the Sangam. And that's why for the next 10,000 years, Mahaprabhu has said, this movement will go on for the next 10,000 years. So even if we screw up, let's get it right over the next 10,000 years. Because after that, this knowledge will still be there. But the conditions will be too difficult for someone to progress. So now that at least we have come into Krishna consciousness, and we've not just come into it, we've stayed into it. Come into बहुत लोग करते हैं. We've stayed into it. It's like, the CA exam. Anyone can give that level 1 CA exam. Anyone. It's open to, what's the, 12th is the qualification? I think 12th pass. Anyone can give it. But how many come out from it? Very few. And how many actually become chartered accountants at the end of the third level? Very few. So we are like those guys, SOS कर लिया, second day भी आए हम लोग SOS में. Many people don't come for the second day. हम second day भी आए, उसके बाद हम गीता क्लास में पहली बार आए, first session. A lot of people after the first session drop out. We came again and we came again and we came again and we went for a yatra. Yatras also lead to some attrition. After a yatra, for some it's just too much. They stop. We continue to come and we are there and we are still here. Now we should ensure that we don't regress. We don't regress. Because here the Lord is telling Brahma that a person must certainly search. If they are inquisitive to know about the absolute truth, if they're inquisitive to know about God, they should continue doing it. They should continue searching. So in the Bhagavatam, there is this very nice verse we can recite. Parabhavastavad jato yavan jignasat atma tattvam yavat kriyastavad vidya yavat kriyastavad manovai कर्मात्मकं येन शरीरबन्धः. Someone read? कर्मात्मक. Okay, so Bhagavatam says, as long as one does not inquire about spiritual values of life, one is defeated and subject to miseries arising from ignorance. Be it sinful, pious, karma has its results. Just because we are born in India, just because we are born in decent families, just because we've not done like ghor kalyug activities, that's not enough. That's not enough. It may be enough for others, but for somebody who's really serious to serve God and really serious to perfect our life, that's not enough. So we have to do more. What is that more? We have to serve the Lord. Now, even in that, then we have to do more, and we have to do more, and we have to refine ourselves more and more and more. The verse says, as long as the mind is impure, consciousness is unclear, and as long as one is absorbed in fruitive activity, he has to accept a material body again. So, we should not take it for granted that my spiritual life has started and I will go back home, back to Godhead at the end of this life. I have to, as Lord is telling Brahma, really be more and more and more deeper going into it. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells us actually that verse is here. Repeat. Bahunam janmanam ante Jnanavan mam prapadyate Vasudeva sarvamiti Samatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. You just think about it. How many people do you know? How many of them are devotees? If you only have devotee friends, then it's a different matter. But so many people. What's the population of the country and how many of them would be devotees? But so many people who take to Krishna consciousness leave also. So many people who take, he didn't like it. Why do they leave? I'm not going to leave. I also left last birth. I'm here again. I know how it sucks. This life, no. It's okay. So, it is so rare. Bahunam Janmanam Ante. Those are lifetimes. One person, such a soul. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Very rare. But there are so many people, as we said, who come into Krishna consciousness. There are many who get initiated also and then they leave. So we should understand, we should be determined that we should not be one of those people. There is a tendency, we were discussing this, we were giving Isopanishad class few days back, we were discussing this. There is a tendency for us to plateau in our spiritual life. You know, plateau? So we tend to become flat in our spiritual life after a while. Initially, there are targets for those who are interested. 16 माला पे आना है, okay, ठीक है, 16 माला पे आना है, यात्रा पे जाना है, okay, ठीक है, हो गया सब. प्रभुपाद के बुक्स पढ़ने हैं, okay, चलो वो भी हो, वो वो भी नहीं होता है बहुत लोगों का. चलो वो भी हो गया. भागवतम भी पढ़ लिया 12th कैंटो तक पर्पट्स के साथ. अरे चेतन चेतामृत रेड. Diksha, okay, that also I took. That is also, unfortunately, you see now how we are. That also has become a status symbol. दीक्षा हो गया. हाँ हो गया. वेरी गुड. अरे 3 घंटे दीक्षा हो गया. हाँ हो गया. It's become like that, unfortunately. But after that, what? अभी क्या हो गया ना सब. It's like, that army, they have all these stars on their police people, they have all these stars. Or you go in a company and the maximum you can become is a CEO. अभी क्या करूं? Now what? In our case, so that is also not true. Internally, we only know what's happening. Externally, okay, ठीक है, भागवतम पढ़ लिया, 16 माला हो गया, दीक्षा हो गया. Then what? And then, invariably, many devotees, they tend to flatten out. They tend to flatten out. And when you flatten out, it's like when you're going up a hill and the car is not moving ahead, it's moving backwards. It has to move in one direction. It can't stay still. If you're going uphill, कोई गया है कभी? The car can only move one direction. If it's not going up, it has to come down. So we should not ever get complacent in our spiritual life. His Holiness Kadam Kanan Maharaj, in one of his final lectures, he was saying that I know so many Prabhupada disciples. Prabhupada disciples. Disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Imagine, they met Prabhupada, they spoke to Prabhupada, Prabhupada gave them the beads, Prabhupada gave them a name, they saw Prabhupada, they heard from Prabhupada. He said, I know so many Prabhupada disciples who, when they were about to die, many of them had one regret. They said, I wish I would have taken my spiritual life more seriously. At that point, you can't do anything about it. You rely कि मैंने सेवा किया है उसका भगवान will Krishna will be merciful. You chant the holy names. If you have devotees around you, it's still a nice situation. But now we have energy. Most of us are relatively young. We have energy, and we have association. Things can change at any time. You look at the situation in the world right now. The way every country is moving closer to war. Things can change anytime. Let's not be so sure that our life will be peaceful only and go forward. So let's make the most of this. He said that they had this biggest regret. I wish I would have done more with my spiritual life. I wish I would have performed my sadhana more nicely. I wish I would have finally, slowed down and taken my chanting more seriously. I wish I would have read Prabhupada's purport with more attention than I did. I wish I would have developed better relationships with devotees than I did. I wish I would have grabbed more service opportunities than I did. Many of them had that realization. Kadamkar Maharaj then said, I personally have no regrets with my life. I know I could do everything that I did everything that my body allowed me to do. That's how we should be. We should, at the end, others should testify and say, yes, she did everything that she could, he did everything that he could in his or her spiritual life in terms of service, in terms of sadhana, in terms of relationships with devotees. Otherwise, this rare human birth is only so rare. We heard last week from Shantivardhan Prabhu, a blind turtle in the water finally comes up on the surface of the water, and that probability is only so rare that a blind turtle comes up. He's blind. Where does he know where to go? And in the bottom of the ocean. The ocean is very, very, very deep. And from the bottom of the ocean, the blind turtle, what is the probability that that blind turtle even comes to the surface? And on the surface, there is a log of wood which has a hole and that goes on the head of the turtle. The probability of that is so rare. And even that has a greater probability than taking a human birth. And we are not just, we have taken a human birth, but we are in Krishna consciousness in a human birth. So, where is the scope of complacency? ठीक है ना, आज माला नहीं हुआ चलेगा, चलो आज घुमा देते हैं, अभी कोई स्कोप नहीं है, घुमाओ खाली घुमाओ। आज मूड नहीं है, आज मन नहीं है, आज जो भी है बहुत डिस्टर्बेंस है, घुमाओ, वो नीचे लेके आओ, 8 तो नीचे लेके आओ, 16 तो नीचे लेके आओ, खत्म करो। इट हैपेंस टू मी मेनी टाइम्स. After a while you realize either the day was very busy, sometimes you get service, even if you get up early in the morning there's some service, or you get up late, or your mind is so disturbed even you get up early, आज खाली घुमाना है, और ठीक है आज पढ़ा नहीं, कोई बात नहीं, क्या है, कहाँ भागवतम का जाने वाला है क्या, where is the book going to go, it's not going to go anywhere, and I'll be here tomorrow, I'll read tomorrow. Where are the devotees going to go? छोड़ो आज जाने दो, let me not reply, let me not answer, let me not come. कौन सा Saturday class कहीं जा रहा है, होगा ना next, वापस कुछ ना कुछ तो होते ही रहता है. So that is complacency. There was a disciple of Prabhupada who had some problems with some temple management in Miami, and he was told not to come to the temple. Now, in Mumbai, if we are told not to come to the temple, there are other temples to go to. Other ISKCON temples also to go to. ठीक है, मुझे for whatever reason मुझे बोला गया है मंदिर नहीं आने को यहाँ पे, I'll go somewhere else. In Mumbai we can do that. But in America, there's probably one state has one temple, some places. So he was told not to come to the temple. He was in Miami. The Miami temple was on the ground floor. And if you have been to our Pune camp temple, if you have seen, it's like that. That was like how the Miami temple is. It has windows on the sides and a door, and you're not allowed to go inside. So what he used to do is every day I'm not supposed to go inside the temple. No, I'm not allowed. Whatever reason, he would stand outside the window and take darshan. And he used to go for Mangal Aarti every day for Mangal Aarti. Stand outside the window, take darshan, sing the prayers, and then come back, and then go home and chant. And he did that for 10 years, every day. हमें कोई बोलेगा whatever reason के लिए ये सब छोड़ दो, हम बोलेंगे हाँ ठीक है, भगवान की इच्छा है, भक्तों के थ्रू ही आती है भगवान की इच्छा. And this fellow apparently for no fault of his was told this, and okay fine, you don't want to come inside, no, you can't stop me from being outside. So and he was taking darshan like that, Mangal Aarti that also, not Saturday evening 6:45, so that at 7 I go up rather than 6:30. Today we started the kirtan, there were 8 people. Close my eyes, when we opened the kirtan there were. So we should not plateau. We should always ask, am I doing enough in my spiritual life? Am I doing enough? Can I do more? Is there more I can do in my spiritual life? Is there more I can do with my sadhana? Is there more I can do in my service? That inquisitiveness, just like Krishna is telling Brahma, that inquisitiveness should be there to know me. And you should search everywhere, up, down, indirectly, directly. That's what the verse says. Similarly, we should leave no stone unturned for our spiritual life, for our spiritual advancement. Srila Prabhupada, when he was just last few days, I have been reading the first book of Leelamrit. And Srila Prabhupada in his household life had so many difficulties, so many challenges. He had many children, he had a business, but he would not leave any opportunity to associate with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati or his disciples. Not leave any opportunity. He would purposely establish work in cities where the Gaudiya Math was there so that he could go and visit them. And when the Gaudiya Math came to Prayagraj, that's where his pharmacy was. Then every evening he would, no matter, and that time he was going through losses. Business was shutting down. Someone else will think, ठीक है भाई अभी तो कमाना है और तो दिन रात काम करो. Prabhupada would still do whatever is needed, and evening he used to be in the Gaudiya Math. So that much faith, as now we all should have that firm faith that my material life is not running anywhere. Rather than thinking Bhagavatam थोड़ी कहीं भागे जा रहा है या जपा थोड़ी कहीं भागे जा रहा है, my material life is not running anywhere. My prarabdha will come to me. It will come, guaranteed. Right? Till the last paisa, it will come. till the last name or till the last infamy, it will come. That I can take for granted. But spiritual life depends on my endeavor. And therefore, that I should do nicely. There is one more verse from the Bhagavatam, 6th, 5th canto, which says, yet we can recite, Yasya asti bhaktir bhagavata kinchana sarvair gunastatra samasate sura Rava bhaktasya kuto mahadguna Manorathena sati dhavato bahi. All the demigods and all their exalted qualities, such as religion, knowledge, and renunciation, become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudev. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has no good qualities. Even if he is adept at the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor of maintaining his family and relatives, he must be driven by his own mental speculation and must engage in the service of the Lord's external energy. How can there be any good qualities in such a man? If you are a devotee, all the all the good qualities of the demigod automatically manifest in a devotee. And whereas a non-devotee, how much ever righteous they are, or how much ever kind they are still not taking to Krishna consciousness. What's the value of that righteousness? The It's like, are you are driving a car and you are supposed to go from point A to point B in the car. The car is given to you to go from Mumbai to Pune, for example. And instead of going to Pune, you are just driving around here and there, but you're driving very nicely. You're giving all the signals, you're following all the rules and regulations. You're जहाँ देखा आपने 40 speed limit आप 40 पे आ गए, जहाँ लिखा है 20 you're actually going on 20. If you see somebody crossing the road, even if it's not a zebra crossing, you're stopping. You're taking lifts, getting people आओ जो मैं लेके जाता हूँ. And in all this, your petrol is over and Pune is nowhere even close by. मैंने चलाया ना अच्छे से, मैंने इतना किया, लोगों का भला किया मैंने. Yeah, but you were given a goal, and for that you were given this car, and that was to go to that point. What's the use of your good driving and your helping others? Now, if you did all that and you were doing all that while going to Pune and you reached, great, you're a very, very nice devotee. But if not that, at least make sure you reach to the destination. So, at least keep moving forward. Otherwise, what is the use of all these other qualifications? I am a CA, I am an MBA, I am an MBBS, I am this, I am that, or I have done so much and I know so much and I am so up to date with all this knowledge. If our spiritual life is not moving forward, what's the use of all these inquiries? So, therefore, for our spiritual life to move forward, we have to have very strong association of devotees who can guide us and maybe tell us also sometimes that थोड़ा और फोकस करो साधना पे, थोड़ा और अच्छे से चैंट करो, थोड़ा और अच्छे से perform, take some more services. Long time you've not done any service, come on, do something. Like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadeshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshanam. We approach devotees, we humbly inquire from them, and we do that in a mood of service. Ultimately, we accept a spiritual master in life, and this guru guides us on how to progress in spiritual life. So therefore we must all aim to have a guru in life. Therefore we must all aim to be eligible to take initiation, and we must all aim to have some service in life, and this way our spiritual life moves forward. And for those who have a formal spiritual master, then how can we please the instructions of the spiritual master more and more and more? So this is what human life is meant for. The In the Nectar of Devotion, the six symptoms of surrender. The first is Anukul Yasya Sankalpa, accepting whatever is favorable for my spiritual life. And the second is Pratikul Yasya Varjanam, giving up whatever is not favorable for my spiritual life. So these can be like my two principles to guide in life. Am I accepting everything that is favorable for my spiritual life? And am I saying no to things which are not favorable? We can just do an exercise right now and we will not share with anybody. You can all do this exercise over the next couple of minutes. You can remove your mobile phone if you like. And you think of maybe some more things that are favorable to your spiritual life that you should accept. You've not yet done it. Some things which are favorable for my spiritual life I'm not yet doing. It could be anything. Early morning, chanting, whatever. Some more things which are favorable to my spiritual life I'm not doing, and some things which are detrimental in my for my spiritual life which still exist in my life. Don't write your spouse's name in that. यही कारण यही है ये जाएगा या ये जाएगी तो सब ठीक हो जाएगा or your boss's name. But some things which are detrimental to my spiritual life which still exist in my life, I'm not able to kick them out. Please do. You take a couple of minutes and think, first think, and then write. Everyone is tuck, 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 started. It's on the top of my head. I know. You think. You should have some deeper points also, not just this सुबह को जपा, भक्तों का संग, टीवी फेंक दो, स्मार्टफोन निकाल दो. Think more deeply. At least for both, you should have 2 3 points. And these are like practical, implementable from tonight. Don't have to take sannyas. Implementable from tonight. Okay? We could make a list, few points, practical, implementable. Good. So now we should ensure that we do some of these things. This is practical. We should do some of these things. Whatever is in our list. Next Saturday when we come, next Saturday is Bhurijan Prabhu's class. So when we come in front of Radha Rasbihari, we should be able to maybe report to Radha Rasbihari that हाँ ठीक है ये एक चीज किया और ये एक चीज निकाला प्रयास किया एटलीस्ट मैंने ट्राई किया और इट मे नेक्स्ट टाइम नेक्स्ट सैटरडे व्हेन आई सी यू आई आस्क यू डिलीट हो गया कहाँ लिखा था पता नहीं याद नहीं है so you don't even need to see it again because you've thought of it you've written it you know what is it so try and implement and we may fail but we should try again we may fail again we should try again like Prabhupada gives this example of a child walking learning to walk this is Prabhupada wrote this in a letter to somebody on 1st January that a child learns to walk and they while learning to walk what happens with every child they fall so if a parent says no my child is falling wait for a couple of more months wait for 1 year more वो जब भी अच्छे से करे तभी चलने देंगे child will fall run fall get up but then spiritual life is like that sometimes we mind overpowers us sometimes we end up making mistakes but we should not give up we should get up just like a child gets up again and then just like a child that same child who can barely walk will run a marathon similarly we can keep progressing and be of some use to the Lord in this life it's like that whoever who is having his own photograph as the wallpaper of the phone unlock किया खुद का photo है so we are so self-absorbed we are not sometimes not even able to think yeah my life is not just meant for my spiritual life it's actually meant to serve Krishna and why will Krishna use me in his service if मेरा खुद का ठिकाना नहीं है मेरे spiritual life का my spiritual life is खुद wavering but if I'm trying my best if I'm doing my best then Krishna will overlook some difficulties that I'm having if I'm putting my best Krishna will give mercy ठीक है ये उससे नहीं होने वाला चलो कृपा दे दो आगे बढ़ेगा वो ये तो उसका 50 लाइफ टाइम्स पहले भी यही अटैचमेंट था 49 से यही अटैचमेंट चल रहा है तो ऑब्वियसली ये साल भी ये अटैचमेंट होगा ये लाइफ में चलो कृपा दो if he'll see us endeavoring if he'll see us endeavoring he'll do and we don't know the attachments that we have we don't know how deep they are how many lifetimes that they are there therefore so many things we see someone else sees it very clearly हाँ, ये नहीं करना है but we have our things going on so we should our endeavor should be full like this thing accepting favorable and rejecting this principle is elaborated by Rup Goswami in which book nectar of instructions verse 2 and verse 3 here what is said pratikul yasya varjanam giving up things that are not favorable which verse is that in nectar of instruction अत्याहार प्रयासश्च I knew नहीं आएगा तो मैं स्लाइड लेके आया हूँ रिपीट अत्याहार प्रयासश्च जल्पो नियमाग्रह जनसंगश्च लौल्यश्च भक्ति विनश्यति Rupa Goswami says one's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, over endeavoring for mundane things is very difficult to obtain, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of scriptures and working independently or whimsically, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, and being greedy for mundane achievements. These 6 things, Rupa Goswami says, we should be away from. Overeating or over endeavoring. Overeating is also not good. Similarly, over collecting. इतने करोड़ इतने लाख इतना पैसा इतना ये इन्वेस्टमेंट इतना ये उसको डाइवर्सिफाई करना है मेरे पोर्टफोलियो को एंड इसमें जिंदगी निकल जाएगी पोर्टफोलियो यहाँ रह जाएगा आपका बॉडी डाइवर्सिफाई हो जाएगा लाइफ वेस्ट हो जाएगा body will diversify into something else, your portfolio will rot here, and you will be somewhere else. So have firm faith that when we were in the womb of our mother, when our mother didn't even know who we are, for the first few weeks she didn't even know we were there. Yeah, till she did a test and came to know that, oh, I'm pregnant. That time she didn't even know we existed. But we were getting maintained by who? By the person seated in the heart. When we were a tiny dot, in that tiny dot also there was Atma, with Atma there was Paramatma. When mummy and papa didn't know that we existed, Paramatma knew we exist and he was with us. And then throughout those 9 months, he maintained us. And when we were Chintu Mintu also, the way we grew, it was not just our parents. The Lord was ensuring everything that is going inside is doing its work, and therefore we are growing. Krishna says in Gita, in the Bhagavad Gita, that I am the ability in Aushadhi to act. I'm the ability in medicine to act. Therefore, earlier times when people used to give these jadi booties, they would give and tell, Bhagwan ka naam leke lena. You can try that tomorrow when you're popping your croissant or whatever you are. Hare Krishna. So, what were we saying? Huh? Over endeavoring for material life. Krishna is the maintainer. He's taking care of us. He's taking care of us. And he will continue to take care of us. And if we say, okay, 8 घंटे से ज़्यादा मैं नहीं काम करूंगा, कृष्णा will say, नहीं अभी मैं मेंटेन नहीं करूंगा तेरे को. अरे ऐसे कैसे? कर ज़्यादा काम कर. So then where's the point of over endeavoring? तुमने 4 करोड़ नहीं कमाया, अरे बॉस मैं तेरे को मेंटेन नहीं करूंगा अभी. Prabhupada says, my father used to say, Krishna is maintaining the ant, he's maintaining the elephant. What makes you doubtful that he will not maintain you? Insignificant ant, huge elephant, Krishna is maintaining. So no need to over endeavor. Prajalpa, unnecessary talk. Unnecessary talk. Amongst devotees also, unnecessary talk. After coming to Krishna consciousness on a Saturday also, now we know what will happen after 15 minutes. I'm pretty sure all that you all are going to talk about is something related to your spiritual life. And that's what you always do. But unnecessary talk. See, some pleasantries are required. We need to, we share with each other our life and all. But it should not just be that only, right? There should be some spiritual discussion also. There should be some inspiring each other in spiritual life when we talk to each other as devotees. Then following rules and regulations or not following them, associating with worldly minded people. Mahaprabhu says, Asat Santyag Yahi Vaishnavachar. One of the main attributes of a Vaishnava is he gives up the association of non-devotees. You can think कितने ऐसे non-devotees हैं जिनके साथ मेरा regular association है, which is avoidable. At work there would be association that is unavoidable. In family there is association that's unavoidable. Beyond that, स्कूल का फ्रेंड है, ठीक है, उसके साथ क्या बातचीत होती है? हाँ, if बातचीत is normal, then it's okay. Bachit is Krishna conscious, then that's great. But if Bachit is that fellow is just telling you about his worldly things and this movie and that song and this, that is so detrimental. That kind of association. Give it up. Remove it. So these are ways where we will progress. And then Rup Goswami says for that Anukulyasya Sankalpa, in the third verse, he elaborates that. Utsaha nishtaya dhairyat tat karma pravartanat संगत्यागात् सतो वृत्ते Shadbir Prasidati. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service: being enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence, being patient, acting according to regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna, abandoning association of non devotees, and following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. Being enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence, and being patient. Srila Prabhupada's life had all these 3 things in full. And from 1922, from the day he heard from Bhakti Siddhanta, from that time, the endeavor with confidence was there. But from that time, Prabhupada was patient because from that time, there were always obstacles in his spiritual life. One after the other, obstacles after obstacles. But he was patient. Similarly, we may have our ups and downs in our spiritual life. We have to be patient. Patient cannot be misused also. भागवतम पढ़ लेंगे, be patient. हो जाएगा 12th का, be patient. Not like that. But after doing everything also, if man is going here and there, be patient. If after doing all this also I am spontaneously not feeling any love for Krishna, be patient. But keep doing. As Kadam Karan Maharaj says, कुछ भी नहीं होगा ना, ये सब full follow करेंगे, प्रभुपाद के movement में सेवा करेंगे. If we just follow everything Prabhupada says, even if we don't develop love for God, when we die, before we enter the spiritual world, love for God will be sprinkled on us and we'll enter. So that patience we should have. But not patience with our spiritual life. एक दिन आएगा जब अच्छे से माला करेंगे, तब तक घुमाओ, घुमाते रहो. At least घूम रहा है. That we should endeavor. Sanga Tyagad. If you see, it is common in both verses. This is common in both verses. In the previous verse, it is called Jana Sangha. Give up. And here Sangha Tyaga. Give up. In both, this is so important. Don't have all that unnecessary association with worldly people. Office mates required, family mates required. Beyond that, not really required. So if beyond that there are people who are talking normal things with you and hearing your spiritual aspect, great. Associate with them. But if it's not that way and they are just reminding you of your old life and tempting you, delete them from your life. And Sato Vritti, go in the footsteps of the Acharyas. And this way, our devotional life will never plateau. It will keep moving ahead. कभी थोड़ा पीछे हो गए फिर ज़्यादा आगे हो गए, थोड़ा पीछे हो गए ज़्यादा आगे हो गए. And that is what the Lord is asking Brahma to do. Now we can, those things which we wrote, we can just sort of verify them with this, whether they are following these principles. Those things which I want to do, which I thought was favorable for my spiritual life, whether they are abiding by these principles. Great. If those things that I want to give up for my spiritual life, are they abiding by these principles? They are, then great. Because ultimately, nobody loves us more than Krishna. And knowing how rare human birth is, and in that human birth, how rarer this is, uh, and knowing how loving Krishna is, where is the question of complacency? Cannot be there. So let us, whatever we wrote, at least in the next week, let us try that we follow it. Okay? Okay, we'll end with another verse from Rup Goswami since his theme was Rup Goswami. This is from Padyavali, and this highlights. So these were all, ye karo, ye nahi karo. This verse highlights the glory of Lord Krishna. We will recite. It's a very long verse. Try and memorize. इसमें 5-6 गीता के श्लोक आ जाएंगे इतने बड़े वर्स में. The meter is the first verse of Bhagavatam. व्याध्यस्याचरणं ध्रुवस्य च वयो विद्या गजेन्द्रस्य का. कुब्जाया किमु नाम रूपमधिकम् किं तत् सुदाम्नोदनम्. वंशको विदुरस्य यादवपते उग्रस्य किं पौरुषम्. भक्त्या तुष्यति केवलं न च गुणैर् भक्ति प्रियो माधव Goswami writes, some say he is pleased only with virtuous behavior. He's talking about Krishna. Some say he is pleased only with virtuous behavior. But what piety was there in the hunter Dharma, who spent his whole life killing innocent animals? Others say one must be mature to please the Lord, but Dhruva was only 5 years old. Some say that Bhagwan is most impressed with erudition. But was the elephant king Gajendra a great scholar? If Prabhu is attracted by beauty, then how did Kubja charm him? If Bhagwan is happy with wealth, then what about the impoverished Sudama? If high birth is the only means to please Bhagwan, then what would have happened to Vidurji? And if the Lord is attained by strength, then how did the weak Ugrasen, incarcerated in Kamsa's prison, get his favor? Such is Madhav's affection for his devotees. He is basically showing how Krishna's love contradicts uh, general principles of life. Dharma was a hunter, he was a very sinful hunter. But just like Mrigari or Valmiki, he got transformed and the Lord bestowed his mercy on him. Similarly, says others say that one must be mature to please the Lord. Where was Dhruva's maturity? He was just a 5-year-old boy. But he pleased the Lord. He pleased him. Some say that one has to be a scholar. No Shastra. Was Gajendra capable of reading? No. But did he get the Lord's mercy? Yes. If the Lord is attracted by beauty, who was Kubja? Hunchback woman. One hunchback, not very beautiful. But she was wanting to provide sandalwood paste to Krishna. And that service attracted Krishna. And then what did Krishna do? Instant back surgery. Stood up. She pleased Krishna by that. Not beautiful. Krishna doesn't care. He's got Radharani and the gopis. What he's seeing is love, love. If Bhagwan was happy with wealth, Sudama, he had nothing. He had nothing to offer. Begged some chipped rice. Krishna found it very tasty. What was he looking for? The love inside. If high birth is what was there, Vidur was the son of a Dasi. Dasi. Um, yeah. And strength. Ugrasen, weak king, very weak. Kamsa put him in prison. Krishna re-established him as the king of Dwarka. Krishna was satisfied by Ugrasen's devotion. Such is Madhava's affection for his devotees. What do we have to do? We have to do our part. Take our spiritual life more seriously. We have to endeavor more for our spiritual life. No, our material life चलते रहेगा. Spiritual life नहीं चलते रह सकता है. It has to actually चलाना है उसको. To take charge of our spiritual life. Ultimately, because Krishna loves us so much, and we just have to do our part. He's waiting to give us mercy. Waiting. We have to be eligible, and eligibility is what we discussed that Sri Rupa Goswami recommends every devotee to do. So, to summarize the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam, the first verse we discussed the eternal nature of Krishna. Second verse we discussed how everything that has value has a relationship with the Lord, otherwise it is illusion. In the third verse we discussed the inconceivable opulence of the Lord and how, in spite of having all this opulence, he's actually looking after a devotee. He's looking for the love of a devotee. And today we discussed we need to endeavor to achieve love for Krishna. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Krishna? Vaman is raising his hand. Vaman is sorted in life. He's peaceful. Any question? Any? This verse says, a person who is searching after the absolute, supreme absolute truth, the personality of God, must search certainly for it up to this in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. He's telling Brahma, inquire. You have no questions. Okay? Ah, yes, Mataji. So, after a while, somewhere we have to take our spiritual life more seriously. We have to uh, we have to have certain principles that must happen. They must go on. And of course, there that is why we should be in association of devotees, so that we always keep getting the push. But as we were discussing, if you remember last few sessions, we always discuss that Prabhupada saying we have to work hard for our spiritual life, and for that we have to perform austerities. Whatever difficulties have to be taken, we have to take. So it will be difficult. We may feel inspired right now. After a few days, the inspiration may go down. But we have to remind ourselves that ultimately time is going, time is moving. If you remember, you started coming in 2012. We are in 2025. It's been 13 years. If I remember, I started coming in 2008. It's been 13 plus whatever years. Time flew by. That many more years will go. 26 हो जाएगा ऐसे. 26, not 2026, 26 years in Krishna consciousness. It's 13 now. It'll go by like this. And if I am in the same position that I am in now, I will feel so unfortunate. So I should, uh, certain things के लिए I will require a push. Even later on, I will require push. That is why there is association. So we must associate more and more. If we require more push, we should make ourselves open to get the push. So that means we should open up to some devotees. See, this is my condition now. Tell me something. Tell me something to inspire me. Tell me something to motivate. Tell me something to deal with this. So one is we make ourselves open. It cannot it cannot always just be through a formal class. So we go to devotees and open up and say these are my challenges. Better to look like a fool in terms of in front of one person than to remain a fool. So we do that. And second is certain things, our conviction should become stronger. That okay, इसमें compromise नहीं है. This may no compromise. Come what may, no compromise in this. It can be whatever, no compromise in that. Of course, you have a small child and all those things will be up and down, but at least in principle, I know that this life is meant to serve Krishna. At least in that, there should be no compromise. And when Narottam Das grows up, then there should be no compromise also in maybe certain aspects of sadhana. So at least no compromise in the principle that my life is ultimately meant to move forward into service to Krishna, and ultimately uh, perfection of that is achieving love of God. So push is always needed. I also always require a push. That is why we do Shravanam. That is why we hear. When we hear, we get push. When we hear, yeah, I never thought of it that way. How good I heard this again. I needed this. Therefore, Shravanam is one of the pillars of devotion that we should go on. And Shravanam is such a wonderful thing. It can go on even when we have small kids. Uh, we do so many other activities. Just put on some lecture. That's okay. If reading is difficult at this stage of life, you hear more. If at your stage of life, if reading is difficult, you hear more. And then after a while, you will be able to do. But at least the desire to want to read should be there. So that when you get time, okay, 10 minutes nikal gaya aaj, somehow it's peaceful. Okay, let me read for 10 minutes. Keep hearing them, hear more. But hear proper things. We should hear, we should hear from, we should, rather, we should hear topics which are relevant to us. There's no point of hearing lectures which are meant for first year devotees and second year devotees now, right? We might as well hear better things. So then that hearing will go. We should hear from proper sources. Then that hearing makes sense. Okay. Thank you for your question. Anything else? Yes, Vikas Prabhu. So, how to see the Lord's presence more and more in our life so that we can thank Him more? Maybe we don't even need to see the Lord's presence in our life to be able to thank Him. We don't even have to see the Lord's presence. We should be convinced enough that the Lord is present everywhere, everything is happening because of Him. And that should be enough to thank Him. Also, Prabhupada gives the example that, when it is dark and you see a cat, what do you see about the cat? Only eyes. Why? Because it's dark. So, in our ignorance, we can only see one or two things in which we can see the Lord's hand. But the Lord's hand is there everywhere. We are ignorant of it. So, in theory, we should accept, yes, and we should every day, as part of our daily prayers, we should thank the Lord. In japa, many times to feel gratitude while chanting is a very nice mood to chant in. When you come in front of Radha Rasbihari, when we look at the pictures of the Lord at our home, we can express gratitude. We don't even have to feel or it to be very obvious that the Lord's hand is there. We should understand it is there. Prabhupada says, otherwise, if the Lord takes away the sanction, we won't even be able to move an inch. Someone is listening on Zoom outside. So that we should have faith in, and therefore we should have gratitude. Having a heart of gratitude is a very good devotional quality. Even in our material life, we should feel grateful to Krishna only for everything that is happening. Yeah, when the salary comes, thank you, Krishna. When whatever happens, thank you, Krishna. मैंने इतना मेहनत किया इसीलिए इस बार बोनस मिला है. Okay, externally it may have been because of my endeavor. Ultimately, it's Krishna's sanction. Okay? Yes. The more Krishna conscious we are, the more we will see Krishna's hand in things in life. The more we are performing our spiritual life nicely, the more we will see Krishna's hand in life. The more we are aloof, then as that second verse of Bhagavatam says, that's an illusion. And it's my life and my spiritual life. It's my space and my spiritual life. That's an illusion. Okay? Right. Any other question? Okay. Hare Krishna. So next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Gurujan Prabhu is going to give a seminar. The topic of that seminar is After the Rage of Indra. After the Rage of Indra. 16th, 17th, 18th January, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. in Vrindavan Hall. And 19th January, Sunday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Japa workshop. So, 4 sessions by His Grace Burijan Prabhu, disciple of Srila Prabhupada, one of the most brilliant speakers and deep thinkers in ISKCON. So, he is coming for 4 days, next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Please come for all those sessions. Although it may be telecast live, but if you come and physically in present attend, that's always having more impact. So, next Saturday, our class will not be here, it will be in Vrindavan Hall. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। कीर्तन by Endeavour।